Joining us now is Jessica Epstein. She's a physician assistant from the Michigan Institute of Neurological Disorders. Joining us on the MegaCast. Jessica, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So go ahead and give us a little bit of background on the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders, some of the services that you provide, and specifically why they have a center that looks almost exclusively at headache and facial pain.
It's a great question. So It provides comprehensive care for brain, spine, and nervous system disorders. We are able to provide all of our services in-house, starting with evaluation to diagnosing patients using MRI, EEG, EMG, OCT, as well as treatment options that we now have an infusion center that can provide infusion treatment as well. The reason for having a center now for headache is because it's one of the most common disorders in neurology. How many people out there have had headache or migraine? And I believe it's underdiagnosed and undertreated. And I think there are so many new options out there now that we can provide to all of these patients.
So what are some of the symptoms, particularly of migraine, that differ from the typical headache?
Anyone can have a typical headache. Headaches usually resolve with over-the-counter treatment. They don't recur. Migraine is often recurrent. It's debilitating. Migraine is something that progresses over time, comes and goes, and often associated with additional features.
So how common are migraines? You mentioned that most people will get regular, ordinary headaches, or will get the occasional headache. But how common is it for somebody to have migraines, or even more specifically, recurring migraines?
Well, migraine in general is often recurring. Okay. It's something that happens on a regular basis for my patients. And when it's undertreated or not treated, it can become more frequent, becoming a chronic problem. It is one of, like I said, one of the most common neurological conditions. And I think most people just associate their migraines maybe with headache, because it might not be as severe for them as it is for a friend or a family member. But that doesn't mean that they don't still suffer from migraine themselves.
We're joined by Jessica Epstein, a physician assistant with the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders, joining us on the MegaCast. And so are there any risk factors that put people more likely at risk for suffering from migraines, whether it be men versus women or certain age groups?
Yeah, good question. So there is definitely a genetic component to migraine. There are also outside triggers or factors that might be different for everyone individually, whether it be certain smells or bright lights. Also, it is more prevalent in women. It can affect all ages. I primarily treat just adult patients, but when they come to me initially, they will tell me that they recall having their first migraine at 5 years old.
We're joined by Jessica Epstein. She is a physician assistant from the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders with us on the MegaCast, talking about migraines. And so what factor does genetics play in somebody having migraines? Can migraines be more progressive from environmental circumstances, or is it typically through genetics that somebody becomes more susceptible to a migraine?
I would say it's more common with genetic component. But just because someone doesn't have a family history of migraine doesn't mean that they won't develop migraine. Personally, my mom has migraine. I don't suffer from migraine as much as she has over the years, but I've still experienced migraine over time. And one of those features that I want to mention is migraine with aura. You can have migraine with or without aura. Aura can present in a variety of ways, oftentimes with visual disturbance. There was one time that I started experiencing wavy lines out of the peripheral vision for me, which was a new thing. And even though I know what migraine with aura is, for someone who's never experienced it, it can be scary.
And so, what are some of the treatment options for migraine? Because not only not only are these reoccurring, but for some people, or in some cases, they can be more severe in one area than another, or one time than another.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had treatment options including antihypertensive medications, so blood pressure medications, anti-epileptic medications, so seizure medications, or antidepressant medications. Those are the typical oral medications that we've been using to treat migraine for many, many years. Luckily now, over the past few years, we now have a new development of CGRP antagonists. So these are monoclonal antibodies that are different from those oral agents. We have 3 medications that are once monthly injection. Now the patient, I teach them how to inject themselves at home on a once monthly basis. Some people are hesitant to do that themselves, and we're now lucky enough to have an infusion-based therapy in that same category that we offer here at Mind for patients that don't want to utilize a medication such as those. We have procedural approach, nerve blocks, sphenopalatine ganglion blocks, occipital nerve blocks. We can do trigger point injections or even Botox.
We're joined by Jessica Epstein, the physician assistant at the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders, joining us on the MegaCast. And for those that would be more interested in home remedies or homeopathic solutions to migraine or treatments for migraine, are those also available?
Absolutely. You know, a lot of patients will tell me that they respond quite well to using some ice on their neck, ice over their head, where the pain might be located for them. My mom has one of those headache hats that you put in the freezer. Rest is often helpful in a dark space, quiet space. Some patients even are interested in pursuing a supplemental option that they can get over the counter.
And so what is the effectiveness? I know you said some people respond better to some versus others. That's present with any medication or any treatment for anything, really. But for migraines in particular, have you found, or has your team at the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders found that the treatments that you typically have in your office versus those homeopathic or home medicine treatments, which are more effective in treating but also preventing migraines?
I wish that's a loaded question because everyone is different, right?
Sure.
So treatment options are not cookie cutter, and you have to try sometimes multiple things or things in combination to achieve most benefit. So there isn't one versus another that I feel personally is significantly better than other options.
We're joined by Jessica Epstein, physician assistant from the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders, including their services that specifically look at headache and facial pain. And so, Jessica, for you, what interested you in pursuing treatment of headache and other facial pain, such as migraines?
So I started here and I've been working at Mind for several years, working in general neurology, which I've enjoyed. But I definitely had felt a calling, something pulling me to the Headache and Face Pain Center. Like I said, with my mom, watching her over several years suffer from migraine. Myself, I have headache, mostly occipital neuralgia. So I've received treatment here myself. And watching my patients, so many of them come to me and they've seen multiple neurologists or primary care providers in the past, and they've tried a handful of options and they're discouraged, they're frustrated, they don't think there's anything left for them. And what's so rewarding is when I see them for the first time and I explain to them some of the options that I can provide to them right then and there, they're very hopeful at that point. And then when they do start to see improvement, that's the best part.
We're joined by Jessica Epstein. She is the physician assistant from the Michigan Institute of Neurological Disorders. And Jessica, just another couple of minutes with you before we'll say goodbye. Anything else that would be interesting for us to know or understand about migraines, about headaches, about facial pain, or any of the treatment options that are available through your organization?
Few points here. So as far as you mentioned face pain, migraine, different types of headache, sometimes we utilize treatment to kill two birds with one stone. So whether it be me treating someone with face pain and migraine with the same medication, or even someone coming in who tells me maybe they have some depression because of their pain and their pain is severe, maybe I'll utilize a medication to kill two birds with one stone for their depression and their pain, or they have high blood pressure. So I look at the patient as a whole to utilize medication to their best benefit. What I would take away from this, if nothing else, is you might be suffering with headache or migraine or face pain or any neurological condition, and you may have seen someone in the past and you might be discouraged. Please don't be discouraged. Come see us at Mind and see what we can offer you, because there's new developments all the time. And I'd be happy to offer you some of the options, treatments that we can provide and make your life more functional, make you happier.
Well, Jessica, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us and telling us more about migraine in particular, but also about headaches and other treatment options that are available for facial pain, for headaches, for migraines, and more over at the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders.
Thank you so much for having me on.